At the start of the season, Hailie Deegan was perhaps the most exciting prospect in the NASCAR Xfinity series. When she started off the season with AM Racing, everyone was hyped up for the possibilities that would come. However, Deegan has not lived up to expectations, and now AM Racing has decided to part ways with her effective immediately. She hasn't even had a full season in the Xfinity series, but who is really at fault here? There's no doubt that AM Racing did not provide Hailie Deegan with the opportunities that they should have provided her with. Not just the team, but even the sponsors and the car manufacturer, Ford, played a part in keeping her from finding success. Coming into the Xfinity series as a rookie is not an easy task. You're suddenly going up with some of the best drivers in America. Even Cup Series drivers come to take part in the Xfinity series part-time. Taking on these drivers requires a lot of effort, not just from Deegan, but AM Racing as well. But it doesn't take any effort from your side to stay up to date on the latest NASCAR news. Just hit that subscribe button for our channel and let us do the rest. You won't regret it. When we look at what all the factors were leading to Hailie Deegan's poor performance this season, there are a lot. It's no secret that Ford dropped the ball as they designed their cars for the 2024 season, not just in Xfinity but also in the Cup Series. Right off the bat, Ford's cars started to struggle a lot in dirty air. The flaw in the design of the car made all the Ford drivers have a bad season. In the Xfinity series, apart from a couple of drivers, all the others have not fared well with Ford Mustangs, Deegan among them. There's also the factor of Hailie's sponsors. Given that NASCAR, like all other motorsports, is a sport where cash is king, Deegan's sponsors had a lot to say in her promotion to the Xfinity series. They wanted her promoted as it would give them more publicity, as their brand would be on the only car with a female driver on the grid. This also proved to be a mistake, but Deegan also played a part in making these mistakes that may have cost her future in NASCAR. Coming into the K&N Pro Series, Deegan showed a lot of promising results. She drove in the series in 2018 and 2019. During this time, she was able to win 3 races and managed to finish 5th in the standings during the first year, and 3rd in the standings during her second year. She seemed like a very promising candidate to become a NASCAR Cup Series driver. After these 2 years, her sponsors decided to help her get a seat in the Truck Series. This is when her flaws started to show. During her debut season in 2021, Deegan's best result came in Illinois, where she finished 7th. Apart from these results, she was not able to break into the top 10 that year. The next year, she started to show some improvement in her driving. She got 2 top 10 finishes, including a 6th place finish in Talladega. She also came close to the top 10 in several other races. The 2023 season was also more or less the same with just 2 top 10 finishes. Given her results over the 3 years in the Truck Series, it seemed clear that she was not ready for the Xfinity series and needed to spend some more time in the Truck Series and understand a bit more about the cars. However, her sponsors saw the opportunity to get her into the Xfinity series and decided to take it. At the time, AM Racing was looking to add another car to their squad with Deegan. AM Racing is a much smaller team when compared to the rest of the grid. They made their debut only last year with Brett Moffitt. Moffitt is a bit more popular for his success in the Truck Series. He's also a much more experienced driver than Hailie. As a result, he was able to help AM Racing in their debut season with 9 top 10s and a 15th place finish in the driver's standings. Entering the 2024 season, AM Racing intended to have 2 cars on the grid. One would be piloted by Hailie Deegan and the other by Brett Moffitt, who will continue with the number 25 car. However, Brett did not intend to drive full-time this year. Instead, he competes part-time in the Truck Series and has driven 1 race for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series. With only 1 car on the grid, AM Racing clearly did not have the resources and data to support Hailie Deegan as she aspires to become a Cup Series driver. Many felt that her races in the Truck Series were ruined because of the lower quality of drivers in the series. So fans felt that Deegan would fare well in the Xfinity series, without boneheads taking her out with stupid moves around the track. So when she arrived at Xfinity, fans felt that she would be able to perform better as the overall class of drivers would be better. Back in 2023, she did drive in 1 race at Las Vegas, where she gave an impressive performance by finishing 13th. When she became a full-time driver the next year for AM Racing, she delivered a couple of results where she finished in the top 15. However, she was not able to do so consistently. What made things even worse was the fact that AM Racing decided to get rid of her crew chief, Joe Williams, in Charlotte. Since then, Deegan has not been able to crack into the top 20. Here's what Joe Williams had to say about his and Deegan's sacking. "Yes, I'm no longer with AM. I want to thank Hailie Deegan for taking a chance on me this year. I wish her the best in the future and value our friendship. There are several reasons within a race team as to why things do or do not work, but sadly, our goals no longer align. In response to a fan's cutting comment about bringing back the crew chief, Joe Williams firmly stated his opinion. He sided with Deegan and targeted AM Racing for the downfall. I don't need my job back. A lot more than driver crew chief. Wasn't her fault they made the change. Like the post said, goals don't align. After Charlotte, fans started doubting if Deegan would be able to stay on the Xfinity grid next year. But AM Racing has decided to take a much more extreme action by letting her go halfway through the season. Just after the race in Nashville, AM Racing announced that they would replace Hailie Deegan with Joey Logano for the street race in Chicago. At the time, AM Racing did not confirm or deny that Deegan would be back in the car for the next race in Pocono. But just a day after the Chicago race, AM Racing and Hailie Deegan announced that they would not be continuing their relationship any longer. Here's what Deegan had to say. Beginning this season, I had a lot of excitement and hope in taking my next step in the NASCAR Xfinity series. It's something I've been working towards for years and always dreamt about. I worked hard to prepare for this season after the team pursued me to drive their car. Unfortunately, it has not turned out the way that I expected. There are always several reasons within a race team as to why things do or do not work, but sadly, our goals no longer align. With that being said, myself and AM Racing will be parting ways. The only thing I'm focused on is getting back to being competitive. That is all that matters to me. I'm working as quickly as possible to find the best opportunities to get back on the track. I'm thankful for the following that I have and everyone who supports me. It's truly only me who knows the whole story and what I need to succeed. See you at the track soon. With Hailie being the only driver for AM Racing, they were not able to help her succeed. It was clearly not fair of AM Racing to sack Hailie Deegan. But there is fault on Deegan's side as well. Coming into the Xfinity series, Deegan overestimated her own skills and thought she would be able to take on some of the best drivers in America without the guidance or support that can be provided by a more established team. Knowing that AM Racing is a small and understaffed team, Deegan selected that team to make her Xfinity debut. Her performance with AM Racing may have set back her entire career. Now she needs to pick herself up and start finding a new team for herself. This time, it should be a team with enough resources to help her succeed. Another aspect that could help her succeed is a teammate. If she has a teammate to help her and compare her results with, she'll be able to learn more about different types of racing styles on each type of circuit. Another reason for Deegan's poor results with AM Racing was SHR. Since AM Racing has a technical partnership with Stewart-Haas Racing, things looked even worse for Deegan. As you all know by now, SHR is leaving the sport after the current season. Despite running 4 cars on the grid, they have not been able to show results on the track. Tony Stewart recently declared that he's not able to invest enough time to help the team recover, so he's pulling out of the team. This will directly affect AM Racing's performance as well. Their future is now unclear, although Gene Haas has stated that his name will continue in the sport as the Haas factory team. It's unclear if their partnership with AM Racing will continue. Given these facts, it is clear that Deegan chose the wrong team to make her debut with. But given Deegan's popularity among fans, it's likely that we will see her back on the grid very soon. Hailie Deegan has a total of 1.6 million followers on Instagram. This is more than any of the NASCAR Cup Series drivers. Given her popularity, her sponsors will not want to leave her despite her sacking from AM Racing. This will also help get her back on the grid. Deegan has proven that she can deliver in the top 10 with proper guidance. She has also performed well on dirt tracks such as Bristol and Knoxville. Hence, there will be some teams looking to have her in their lineup for next year. We may even see her step back into the car for a race or two this year as well. But this time around, she would have learned from her mistakes. Several people within the NASCAR community have extended their support to Deegan and her career. Bubba Wallace's spotter, Freddie Kraft, sided with Deegan over AM Racing's decision to sack her. You can't build a program around an inexperienced driver. You don't know if your cars have speed if your driver doesn't have any experience at the track you're going to. So if obviously money is a big factor in this, but if there was a way to have Brett and Hailie there, I think it would have only benefited Hailie, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. And now they're going to have to go and take a route of putting drivers in here to try to evaluate where their problem's really at. And there's good people over there, like I said, and hopefully they get it sorted out. Concluding his take on the matter, Kraft was just hoping for Deegan's bright future. while also clearing her of any blame. Hailie lands on her feet somewhere. I'm sure she will. She's a talented race car driver. This is not on Hailie either. Former NASCAR driver Kenny Wallace has shared his thoughts on it and how he spoke to Danica Patrick about the same a while ago. Hailie is in a man's world. She's trying to do the impossible, and I admire her for that. Danica Patrick said it best. She said, "Kenny, there's thousands of men race car drivers and Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell's, the only ones to make it. And there ain't but about one lady, and it's Hailie Deegan. So it's tough all right. So I'm not going to criticize one person standing out and being so brave like Hailie Deegan did. She stood out because she's the only damn lady in the NASCAR higher ranks." Hailie Deegan naturally has a bit of a harder task than the rest of the drivers, as she's the only woman among a sea of men. This year, she was the only woman to drive in the Xfinity Series. If she had managed to win a race during this time, imagine the celebrations. Hailie Deegan doing burnouts in Victory Lane, the post-race interview. Considering the following she has, there's no doubt that her fans would flood social media with praise. Fans all across the world will be watching this moment and marking it as a milestone for women in motorsport. Although she has been kicked out of AM racing, we can still witness this moment if she signs with a more capable team. Former NASCAR driver and current NASCAR pundit, Dale Earnhardt Jr., perhaps had the most to say about Deegan's misfortune with AM racing. Hailie is a product of a very challenging system, Earnhardt Jr. theorized. This is the same for a lot of drivers that I've worked with, and a lot of drivers that I've seen, that work their way from, whether it be racing at Millbridge, to late models, super late models, to truck and Xfinity opportunities that eventually come along. A lot of times, whatever the financial support is for a driver, it's very difficult. Wherever that financial support is coming from, whether it's a sponsor, whether it's family, whatever that support is, it's still a lot of money. A huge commitment. It's not forever. What happens is, and this is, I believe, somewhat similar for Hailie, is, in a perfect world, you would let Hailie or any of these other drivers run in that K&N series, or run super late models, or run trucks, a few more years. What happens is there's a bit of an urgency to try and move up and take the very next available opportunity at the next level, because the support financially is not forever, and you do not know when that finally dries up. For whatever reason, you lose that financial support. So every rung on the ladder that develops above you, whether it's the Truck Series or Xfinity Series, no matter how good or bad that rung is, you grab it. I think a lot of times, drivers then ultimately end up in bad situations that don't pan out for them. And this is one of those scenarios where I think that she felt like, man, I've really got to take this. This is being presented to me and I've got to take it. It's Xfinity. I think I'll fit those cars better. I think I'll do a better job in this series. She took it, when it might not have been the opportunity she should have chosen. What other things she could have done, I do not know. Whether it had been staying in the Truck Series, but I see this with a lot of drivers that are trying their hardest to get to the very top, taking the next opportunity that presents itself at the next level, and trying to progress as quickly as possible, because you can't sit there and fund a late model program, or a super late model program, or a truck program, or a K&N program forever. They're like, well, we're spending all this money, let's go spend it here. And they just end up in bad situations. It's about timing, but it's frustrating to see it. NASCAR is one of the most expensive sports to drive in. Even if you have the talent, you'll need funding to sustain. And sponsors, well, they only want one thing: publicity. This publicity comes only when the driver is finishing at the front and battling with their colleagues. If they're not able to do so, the sponsors could choose to leave them and sponsor another driver instead. Hailie Deegan was a victim of this flaw in the system. Deegan's sponsors have been with her since her time at the K&N Pro Series. While she did face some amount of success there, her sponsors got her a seat in the Truck Series. But before she was ready for another promotion, her sponsors were desperate to get more publicity and decided that it was time for her to enter the Xfinity grid. This was too soon for her. If she had had another year or two in the Truck Series, she could have learned a lot more and would have been able to succeed in the Xfinity Series. Dale Earnhardt Jr. mentioned one more reason why AM Racing failed Deegan in the Xfinity Series. You know, if you could have predicted or chosen Hailie's path, you would have certainly sent her in a different direction, right? If you could have taken the last 5 years and done something differently with Hailie's career, you would have not put her on this path. You would have done it differently. The two-time Daytona 500 winner added, I can say that for a lot of different drivers that I believe have the talent, but just ran into the wrong situation. Hailie would probably be better off with a team that has some foundation underneath it. that's been a team, that's had these types of drivers come in, that knows what they need. Sort of, I don't want to use the word coddle, but almost knows how to handle these inexperienced young drivers and how to protect them. I think it's best that they're going their separate ways. The NASCAR Hall of Fame inductee delineated. I think AM should definitely try to tab some Josh Berry types that can sort of help them say, hey man, and they need to listen to these drivers. Hey, this is what's wrong with your program. This is where you're short. This is where your performance is lacking. They can build their program and maybe go back to hiring a full-time driver that might complement them. And maybe Hailie can find herself a situation. She doesn't need to upgrade so much in terms of race teams, but there are some great teams out there that might be in line with her funding and support, that have been around a while in the series, that do just this. They take on these kind of, sort of projects and develop them. We'll see what happens. I'd hate to see her just go elsewhere. I'd hate to see her give up on stock car racing altogether. This justifies the point that was made earlier in the video. No NASCAR team can be led by a rookie driver. In fact, Deegan came into the sport looking for more guidance from mentors and team leaders, but instead, she found herself at the helm. Now that she's parted ways with AM Racing, she can choose where she wants to go and who she wants to drive for. This time around, she will have learned from her mistakes and will choose wisely. Do you think we will see Hailie Deegan racing in the Xfinity Series anytime soon? If so, what team can provide her with the best opportunity to improve? Post your thoughts in the comment section below.